story is about a Jew who was named Rebbe Eliezer Zusia Portugal. He was known as the Skulene Rebbe of blessed memory. He passed away in Tovshin Membeis in 1982. The Skulene Rebbe, Rebbe Eliezer Zusia Portugal. Now, at the end of the Second World War, Pesach 1945, April Tovshin, Pesach Tovshin Hey, April 1945, he found himself in a city in Bukvania called Chernovitz, which was then governed by the Russians, by the communists. He was there, and other survivors of the Second World War were there. There were a few Rebbes there. There were a lot of Jews there. And the situation was very dire. The Jews had very little, and the communists were very tough. But the Skulene Rebbe, who later made it to Romania, he came from Skulen. Skulen is a city in Romania. And he remained there for many years, but at the end of his life, but later in life, he came to the United States of America, passed away in 82. But that Pesach, he was in Chernovitz, and he managed to get a limited amount of wheat that he then grinded its kernels into flour, and he managed to bake a limited number of matzahs. Not many, but some matzahs for that Pesach. And he let it known to the entire community, he let it be known that every Jew who wants one matzah, he can get one matzah from the Skulene Rebbe. He didn't have more than one, but at least one. So that the first night of Pesach, you could fulfill the biblical mitzvah min ha-Torah to eat matzah, which is a mitzvah in the Torah to eat matzahs on the night of Pesach. At least one kazai is the volume of an olive. And if you're having a public seder, if you're having a large seder, then the Skulene Rebbe said he'll be able to give you 3 matzahs for the public seder. And then you can distribute some of them to the people. Sometime before Pesach, a Jew arrives to the home of the Skulene Rebbe. His name was Reb Moshe Lahager. Reb Moshe Lahager was a son of the Sered Vizhnitzer Rebbe, Reb Baruch Hager. The Skulene Rebbe sees him, and Reb Moshe says, I came to get matzahs for my father, the Sered Vizhnitzer Rebbe. And the Skulene Rebbe gives him 3 matzahs to give to his father, who he knew is going to run a public seder for his Hasidim who survived and were there in Chernovitz for Pesach. Reb Moshe Lahager got the 3 matzahs. And then he tells the Skulene Rebbe, my father asked if he can get an extra 3 matzahs. He wants 6 matzahs. Skulene Rebbe says, I'd love to give your father 6 matzahs. But the quantity, the number of matzahs is so limited. If I give your father an extra 3 matzahs, another Jew won't have any matzah for Pesach. I'm so sorry. Take the 3 and have a good Yom Tif. And he stands there and he says, but my father asked me to please get from you another 3 matzahs. Skulene Rebbe was a very, very kind and warm man, but he really felt that this is the wrong thing. I can give you extra, but somebody else is not going to have. And the Seret Vizhnitzer Rebbe's son, Reb Moshe Lahager, just repeats it again. Like a scratch CD again. My tata, my father, the Seret Vizhnitzer Rebbe, Reb Baruch Hager, asked if you could please give him another 3 matzahs. And after a few times, the Skulene Rebbe surrendered. And he says, okay, here are your extra 3 matzahs. And Reb Moshe said thank you, and he left with the 6 matzahs to his home. So the days progressed and continued until Erev Pesach. It was now Erev Pesach in the afternoon, just a few hours before the Seder. And there's a knock on the door. And the Skulene Rebbe opens the door. And who's there? You guessed it, Reb Moshe Lahager. Skulene Rebbe says, how can I help you? He said, my father came here. My father sent me to ask you, do you still have matzahs for Pesach? He says, no, I told you, I had so little matzahs. I didn't have a lot of matzahs. And everything is gone. Jews kept on coming. People need matzah. I gave out all the matzahs. And Reb Moshe says, well, my father wants to know, do you have matzahs for yourself? Do you have matzahs? The Skulener Rebbe looks at him. With a tear in his eye, he says, I had matzahs. But people came, Jews came, begging me for a matzah, and I couldn't refuse them. Why am I better than them? And I just gave away my last matzah to Jews who were begging me that they want matzah. I don't have matzah left over for Pesach. And Reb Moshe Hager took out 3 matzahs and he handed them to the Skulener Rebbe. And he said, my father anticipated, my father expected that you would probably give away your last 3 matzahs for Pesach. And that's why my father asked for an extra 3 matzahs. He didn't want them for himself. He wanted them to hold on to some matzahs for you. Here are your matzahs. Have a kosher and a freilich in Pesach. Have a beautiful and healthy and happy festival of Pesach. As the Skulener Rebbe got his 3 matzahs and Reb Moshe Hager went home to celebrate his Pesach.